You want the best for your car? You already watch our tutorials.
So the best place for the best deal is to buy from the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the sash shock absorbers used in the video through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. To disassemble the front shock absorbers, it is first important to remove the windscreen bay and the windscreen wipers. Before removing the windscreen wipers, place adhesive tape in order to keep a precise indication of their location at the end position. This will make it possible to correctly position them when reassembling. Using a socket wrench and a 13mm socket, loosen the wiper arm nuts. Remove the windscreen wiper arms by making small movements up and down. If they're not coming out, we recommend taking a windscreen wiper remover to facilitate the process. Take out the waterproofing joint in the windscreen bay by pulling it upwards from one end to the other. Now, remove the windshield frame. You can now access the heads of your car shock absorbers. Brush the nut holding the suspension strut support bearing, then spray it with penetrating oil. Using a 7mm Allen key and a 21mm offset wrench, unscrew the nut holding the suspension strut support bearing by a few threads. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels. Lift the front of the vehicle. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. Place the vehicle on the axle stands. You must remove the wheel in order to change the front shock absorbers on your car. This will give you full access to the suspension system. Don't forget to slide the wheels under the vehicle. During this operation, you will work on the front end of your car. An alignment check carried out by a professional will ensure that your steering system is once again perfectly adjusted and functioning. You now have to remove the upper ball from the sway bar link. It connects the sway bar link to the shock absorbers so that the wheels are always in contact with the ground. To do this, we recommend watching the video How to Replace the Sway Bar Links Peugeot 308-1. Using a wipe brush, brush the threads of the shock absorber footballs and spray it with degreaser. Using a breaker bar and an 18mm socket, loosen the two screws of the shock absorber base then finish unscrewing using the socket wrench. Hold the nuts using an 18mm spanner. Remove the screws. Prepare a stable, elevated surface to place all the stop axle once you've removed it. Disconnect the shock absorber base from the stop axle. Finish unscrewing the nut holding the upper suspension strut support bearing. Hold the shock absorber with one hand and finish unscrewing with the other. Remove the upper support bearing. Remove the shock absorber. In order to change the shock absorber, you must now separate it from the spring. You can find in the description the tool we use in the video, which we think is most adapted to the operation. Careful, pay attention as you compress the spring. This is not without risk and should be undertaken paying very careful attention. Install the shock absorber on the tool, then tighten the mobile flange against the spring, controlling its position carefully. check that they're properly held by the locking studs, then slowly compress the spring using the socket wrench and the appropriate socket. Once the shock absorber is free in the spring, you can use a 21mm offset wrench and a 7mm Allen key to unscrew the suspension strut support bearing. In the most extreme cases, you have to use an impact wrench. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. Then remove the suspension strut support bearing assembly. Remove the shock absorber from the spring.
All parts used in this tutorial are supplied by our trusted partners. These partners also help us create as many video tutorials as possible. Check them out in the description below.
You will find the sash parts and products used in the video in the link in the description. Before installing the new shock absorbers, it is necessary to prime them by pressing the shock absorber rod vertically so that the gas and the hydraulic fluid are separated. Unscrew the lock nut on the stem. Then install the shock absorber stop, the protective sleeve, position everything in the spring. Pay careful attention to place the bottom of the spring so that it supports the shock absorber flange. Then install the upper shock absorber support, the shock absorber mount, and finish by screwing the nut on the shock absorber mount. Tightly fix it in place using a 21mm offset wrench while holding the stem with a 7mm Allen key. Finish off the tightening with a torque wrench. Before installing the shock absorber on the vehicle, align the centering pin on the support bearing with the insertion brackets of the stub axle. Unscrew the spring compression tool, paying attention to the position of the spring on the lower shock absorber support. You have now finished preparing the new part. Insert the shock absorber starting from the top part. Replace the upper suspension strut support bearing, then screw its retaining nut by hand. Put the shock absorber back into the stub axle. Then put the screws back in place. Then screw the nuts back on. Finalize the tightening of the screws with a torque wrench. Put the sway bar link back in place. Finish off the tightening with a torque wrench. Clip the ABS sensor hose back in. Put the wheels of the vehicle back on. And lower it to the ground. Final tightening of the suspension strut support bearing nut is done with a torque wrench. Put the windscreen bay back in place. Replace the seal. Reassemble the windscreen wiper arms without exaggerating when tightening them in place. Operation completed.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.